of 1981, and when I bought it, I had a plan. The plans are made for changing, just like I told Jordan, excuse me. And I'm pleased with how the changes have taken place. If you had stood here back in the spring of 1982, you would have seen a gigantic and nasty mud hole right in front of this barn. And I had 22 heifers ready to calve, and I was going to milk them and ship milk and see if I couldn't raise my kids and pay the mortgage on a milk check. But it was nasty, nasty, nasty. The water that came off the barn roof, the water that came off that hill, landed right there, and my cows had to walk through it, and I had to walk through it, and it was just terrible. And so that's when I did my first barnyard project with Janine. That was how many years ago, Janine?
Too many years ago.
A long time ago, yeah. And we did a lot of excavating and a lot of grading and drainage, and we put up a small barnyard, which is about the third of the size of this covered barnyard now. And that was a great benefit. And I've got to say that without these programs, I don't know what I would have done or how it would have worked out, but I can't help but look at it with a gray shade. So I milked cows with that small barnyard. I got so rich at the dairy business I had to retire, so I rented the farm for a couple years, and that was no fun. There was nobody on it for a year and no cattle, and that was terrible. I had to spend 200 hours bush hogging pastures and wasting grass, which damn near broke my heart. So it's been a while since I've done something foolish, so I went out and bought some beef cows and started a beef herd. I run a cow-calf operation. It's a small thing compared to some, but I love it. I like life all around me. When I walk out the door in the morning, that's why I have cattle, chickens, cows, and cats, and so on and so forth. So we did some other practices along the line. Like if you look down along my pond, you'll see a 30-foot buffer zone. The cows used to access the water, and I did not know what I was missing. I thought I was being smart by letting the cows access the water. They could drink. I wouldn't have to worry about it, and so on and so forth. But again, I didn't know what I was missing. When Jordan approached me with these CREP programs, I thought to myself, well, yeah, what am I going to lose by 30 feet of wet pasture along the pond? I didn't know the benefits I'd receive from it. We put this fence up in December, right, Bob?
Yep, just before Christmas.
And yes, we had a good time. It's the first time I ever saw a post pounder work. Hot damn, if I'd have had one of them 30 years ago. So we put this fence up, and it's still a work in progress. As you can see, we've got all kinds of native things growing up in there. There wasn't a cattail on the edge of that pond. Now they're creeping around the outside of the pond, and every spring I see more and more and more and more. And the waterfowl that we get here now, in comparison to what we used to get, absolutely amazing. Mallards, pied-billed grebes, wood ducks, things I ain't even find in a book yet. And
how's the covered barnyard help your operations, Steve?
okay, we're short for time, aren't we?
No,
Larry
you're
gets
fine.
talking, he
You're
can't
fine.
quit.
You're fine.
Okay.
How's that covered barnyard help you?
I used to keep the cattle outside all winter, and they lived down in the woods. And I fed them behind the barn, and it made a hell of a mess also. So come spring came around, I was usually pretty depressed because I had to look out the window and see this slop and the mud and so on and so forth. So we did this last year. We finished it just over a year ago. Now the cattle live in here in the wintertime, and I'm still figuring out the program as to what benefits come popping up from time to time. Number one, all my manure was contained in here now. I'm telling you, not one pail of liquid seeped out of this barn, because every day I shook up 6 bales of straw on top of the pack. I cleaned out what I could until the weather prohibited it when it froze. But I don't know how many loads of manure we took out of here, but it was all relatively dry stuff. And I spread it on the pastures where I was not going to be grazing it so heavy. And then I pushed the other half up into a pile and let it compost and just cleaned it out only a few weeks ago. I pushed up probably 50 loads and took out about 25. That's how much it cooked down. It was amazing. And as you can see, I've also got some hay in here, and I'm in the process of moving that out because it won't be long before the cattle are back in here. But I didn't know if they would stay in here because they loved that woods down there. And whenever the wind was blowing or it was hailing or raining, they'd be down in the woods. Well, they loved the barn more because that's where they spent the winter. I fed them in there, and it worked out really, really well. I was tickled pink with it, and I'm actually looking. Well, I can't say I'm looking forward to winter, but I'm not dreading it as bad as I used to. Put it that way. But it's worked very, very well in the sense that the stream is no longer a mud hole. The barnyard is no longer a mud hole. It's easier to manage.
So that roof, basically what Steve is saying, at the end of the day, all those nutrients that those cows produce are not making it into the water source here. So he has a confined area. Clean water stays clean by the running off the roof, hitting the French drains, and leaving. The nutrients stay right in here, so that Steve in the spring can come in, bucket up all of his manure, and spread it to the land as necessary.
Right.
So all that manure is no longer getting into the headwaters.
That's right. And we've got brook trout in this creek. We always had some, but now it's the population of brook trout has really jumped.
Yep.
And they're going on down the stream and they're filling other spots because this is it. This is where the Oaks Creek watershed starts, right here. And but the wildlife has made a big difference, and it's so much fun to watch. And every one of those animals in there is producing 60 pounds of urine and feces a day, and they're in there from November 1st till May 1st, and it's not going anywhere. For the first time, it's not mixing with the mud and all that kind of stuff.
And in 5 minutes, Steve, 5 minutes, can you tell us how your rotational grazing program has benefited your
Oh,
operation?
if I only had you here for an hour.
5 minutes.
My goal is to graze without any supplemental feeding from May 1st to November 1st. There was a time I didn't think that was possible or even conceivable. Well, now I'm almost there. I have fed a little hay up in the hedgerow, but the cows aren't down here yet, where in the years past I was feeding them by October 1st. I move the cows every 3 to 10 days, so I'm looking them over. I'm not just sending them out, see you in the fall, girls. They're used to me, I'm used to them. I could lead them from here to Cooperstown with a white pail of grain. They'd follow me like the Pied Piper. I call them and they come a-running. And I give them a little lick of grain and open a gate. They're like dogs, you can train them. And it's just amazing. That gives me more control over my cattle. They don't get out.
And it lessens your payout.
Right, and the big benefit I see in the pastures is things are growing that didn't used to when they were overgrazing on some spots. Hop clovers, white clovers, different grasses that I had to go and grab my college books and see what the heck they were. And the cattle look better. They look great. They're way over the mountain now, or else I'd call them, and I'd love to have you see them. They slick. People tell me, wow, your cows look really nice. And thank you.
So you could easily say being environmentally conscientious is also helping you financially, economically.
Absolutely. Ordinarily, I would have fed probably $500 worth of hay by now. I've only fed 4 bales, and I think most of them, they've just been licking on them a little bit. They haven't really eaten.
Well, I apologize that we have to cut this short, but one thing I do want to do prior to leaving is that, Steve, since you have made the endeavor to be a environmentally conscientious farmer with the AAM program, this year our office has decided that you would receive this AAM award sign, and would hope that you would be able to place this on your farm somewhere that when people pass by, they'd be able to see it.
Oh, they'll be seeing it when they drive by here. I'll pick a spot already.
All
Thank
right.
you very much,
Thank
Jordan.
you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, folks. Is there any questions you might have?
Couple quick photo ops.
Can you sign up?
We gotta